Hello everyone, a very good evening. Welcome to Oliveboard. I am Anshul, your CAIIB mentor, and this is the demo session for the CAIIB Foundation batch for June-July 2026 exam cycle for your BRBL paper. Right. So, all of you who have qualified your JAIIB exam and now you're preparing for the CAIIB, you plan to give the CAIIB exam in the June 2026 exam cycle. We are starting this foundation batch and this is the demo class for you for the banking regulations and business law paper. So you have five papers that you need to study in your CAIIB exam, right? You have four compulsory papers and then you have one elective paper. Your fourth compulsory paper is the BRBL. Now, BRBL paper is completely, it is theoretical, it is factual, there is nothing numerical here in this paper, but there are so many acts that you need to study. So, somewhat it is related to your PPB paper, right? You'll be studying about the Banking Regulation Act, SARFAESI Act, you'll be studying about the RBI Act, then FEMA, Prevention of Money Laundering Act. These are the things you'll be studying about the various types of mortgages, right? So this session will give you an idea about the BRBL paper and how we are going to approach for the June 2026 exam cycle, right? So this is the class for clearing our basics. Starting, these are some of the details about me. I am taking the IEIFS paper RBWM in the JIB and I'll be taking BRBL plus the elective paper rural banking for your CAIIB exam. I have 6+ years of teaching experience in this vertical and I have also qualified the JIB exam. Now, let us talk about the CAIIB June 2026 expected dates. Probably the registration will be completed by March 2026. Then, if we talk about your dates, you will have the exam starting from probably 1st of June as per the previous year dates, then BFM, then ABFM, and then fourth paper will be your BRBL exam. Mostly what is followed is that there is a 1 week gap between your third and fourth paper, but in this cycle of November, of December, there's no gap between ABFN and BRBL. So there's also a possibility that you won't get a gap there. Okay, so these are the expected dates for your June 2026 exam cycle. Now, why are we starting this early? You have very recently qualified your JIB exam. I know you all would be celebrating taking a break. But the CIB exam is one level up your JIB exam. The level of questions, the things that you need to study, all of these things are a level up. They are a bit difficult, and particularly the BRBL paper, there's so much to study, so many acts, so many provisions that you need to remember, the time period for filing a suit, then appeal, what you have studied in your JIB preparation, more than that. That is why you need to start early. So we are starting the foundation batch right now. This is the demo class, and your classes will start from Sunday this week itself. All right. Now let us discuss about our BRBL paper because this is for the first time that you will be preparing for it. The BRBL paper, you have four modules. Module A is the regulations and compliance, where you will be studying in detail about the Banking Regulation Act and the Reserve Bank of India Act. Then module B is the important acts or laws and legal aspects of banking operations, part A. This module is definitely easy, but it is extremely important, right? So you'll be studying about the FEMA Act, Prevention of Money Laundering Act, Negotiable Instruments Act, the Transfer of Property Act, mortgage, assignment, pledge, all of these things. Then module C, important acts and laws, legal aspect of operations, part B. Here you'll be studying in detail. You have studied about the SURFACI Act in brief in your PPB paper. You'll be studying about it in detail. Similarly, the integrated ombudsman scheme you'll be studying about in detail. The IBC code, the recovery of debts due to banks act, MSMED act, all of these acts in detail. Okay. And then module D, which is the commercial and other laws. So the Companies Act, Indian Contract Act, Partnership Act, Limited Liability Partnership Act, these acts are covered in your module D. So there are more than 20, almost, the acts that you need to study in your BRBL paper. Again, I will repeat, it is completely theoretical. It is a completely theoretical paper. No numerical portion is there, so that is a plus point for those who do not like mathematics. But there are a lot of things that you need to remember. And to remember them, you need to understand the concepts through examples, through case studies. Case studies are asked in the BRBL paper. The paper is full of case studies and scenario based questions. They're not tough, they're completely conceptual. If you understand the concepts, you will definitely get the case studies. If we talk about the chapters in the four modules, if we discuss, let us also discuss about the priority. So the highest priority is there of module C and D. Around 70% of the paper is for module C and D. Then there is module B and then module A. Talking about the marks, 30 to 35 mark questions from module D. Same around 30 mark question from module C. 20 to 25 from module B and 5 to 10 from module A. Questions will be fact based MCQs. There will be multiple selection type questions. There will be case studies. Mostly case studies are asked in the BRBL paper. But the BRBL paper is scoring. It is definitely scoring. You can easily score 60 plus in your BRBL paper if you are consistent. Consistency is important. You'll have to be consistent. You'll have to continuously keep revising these topics. Otherwise, it will slip out of your mind. Okay. Now, let us discuss about the acts in each of these modules. First, the module A basically covers the provisions of the Banking Regulation Act and the RBI Act. So, the legal framework of regulation of banks, control over organization of banks, regulation of banking business, returns, inspection, winding up mergers and acquisitions, the different types of banks in India, NBFCs, and some financial sector legislative reforms. There are 7 units in your module A. From module A, factual questions are asked, like what is the paid up capital requirement for a public sector bank? What are the requirements for a foreign bank to set up a branch in India? What will be the procedure if a bank wants to set a new branch in the same city or outside of the city where it already has a place of business? NBFCs, the scale based regulation. What are the four stages of NBFCs, right? Control over organization, the permitted business, prohibited business. What role does RBI has? What powers does the government have over the regulation of banks? These are the things in your module A. Then module B, you'll be studying about the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. The obligations on the banks, the records to be maintained, when they have to be furnished, right? Enhanced due diligence. What is the highest limit for a cash transaction? Beyond that, the record will be maintained and for how long? Then we have the Negotiable Instruments Act, where you'll be studying about the drawer drawee relationship, the protection to the collecting bank. There are two very important sections, section 143A and section 148, that you need to study about. The characteristics of a promissory note, a check, a bill of exchange. What is the meaning of a holder in due course, right? Then third is the Foreign Exchange Management Act. What is the meaning of a authorized person? Then what is the meaning of a resident? how foreign exchange is regulated, what are the contravention penalties that have to be paid. Payment and Settlement Systems Act. If a particular entity wants to set up a payment system, what are the requirements? The designated authority. When will RBI cancel the license? All of these things are there in the Unit 11. Then the laws related to securities and modes of charge, part 1, where you will be studying about the different types of mortgages and their characteristics. Registered mortgage, equitable mortgage, conditional mortgage, usufructuary mortgage. Then part 2 of this unit deals with the other types: appropriation, assignment, pledge, hypothecation, banker's lien, and set off. And then Unit 14, creation, registration, satisfaction of charges. The time period for getting a charge registered, what will happen if the charge is not registered, priority will be given, it will be determined in what manner. So there are 7 units in your module B, right? Then we come to our module C, which is extremely important: the Reserve Bank Integrated Ombudsman Scheme, which has integrated the earlier schemes for banking companies, for the NBFCs, and for digital payments. Then the Micro, Small, and Medium Enterprises Development Act. How does the MSMED Act work? What are the rights that are given to the seller? The memorandum of the MSME, delayed payment to the micro and small enterprises. Then comes the most lengthy and most important unit of the whole BRBL syllabus, SURFACE Act. You have already studied about the SURFACE Act, but in very brief. In your RBWM paper also, very brief, very short, in detail. There are around 7 parts of this SURFACE Act in your BRBL paper. We will take 3, 4 full sessions to complete the SURFACE Act itself. Okay, so the regulation of securitization, enforcement of security interest, role of central registry, everything. Then we have the Unit 18, which is the Recovery of Debts Due to Banks Act, the RDB Act, about which also you have studied in your RBWM paper in very short, right? So, how the DRTs and DRATs are established, the qualifications of the chairperson and the presiding officer, the recovery of debts determined by the tribunal. Okay, then Unit 19 is the IBC code, wherein the insolvency of the companies and the limited liability entities. So we have the role played by the NCLT and the NCLAT. What is the corporate insolvency resolution process? How it is initiated, how it is suspended, what powers does RBI have? Right? These are the important units of module C. Then we have certain small units also. Unit 20 is the Bankers Books Evidence Act, wherever the bankers' books have to be produced in the court. Original is not to be given. Copies are sufficient as evidence. How it is followed. Then the Legal Services Authorities Act, where the jurisdiction of Lok Adalats will be there. Consumer Protection Act, there's the Consumer Protection Authority, councils, dispute redressal commissions. What is their jurisdiction? Important. Law of limitation and the tax laws. Law of limitation says when a bank wants to file a suit for the recovery of dues, within how many years they have to do it for a mortgage, right? Like this, it works. This is the module C. These are the acts which are covered in module C. There are 10 acts that you need to study in module C. Then module D, which are the commercial laws and commercial acts. So you will be studying about the Indian Contract Act of 1872. So you will be studying about the essentials of the valid contract, contract of indemnity, guarantee, bailment, pledge, and agency. Next, you will have the Sale of Goods Act 1930, where you will be studying about the conditions and warranties, rights of the unpaid seller. Very simple act, very interesting. Module D is case studies, complete case study, right? You'll be given a scenario. The institute will not directly ask you what is the right given to the unpaid seller if there's a delay beyond these and these many days. What are the rights to the unpaid seller without giving the notice to the buyer? No, they will give you a whole scenario, a lengthy paragraph from which you will have to select the correct answer. All right. Then the Indian Partnership Act, if someone enters into a partnership, right? A partnership firm is formed. How will it work? The relations of the partners to one another, to the third party. Can a minor be admitted to a partnership? Effect of registration, non registration, and dissolution of the firm. Companies Act. This is the second most lengthy unit of your whole BRBL syllabus. The different types of companies, memorandum and article of association, the doctrines of ultra vires, constructive notice, indoor management, members of a company, prospectors, directors. Okay, these are the tough chapters from Module D. Then LLP Act is simple. Transfer of Property Act about the mortgages. We will be again studying about it. Right to Information Act. If I want to seek information from a public authority, I can do so by making an application, paying a simple fee, right? The Information Technology Act, how the computer systems the are kept safe. Questions from the keys were asked. Asymmetric crypto system. Certifying authority, this was asked in the previous session. And last unit, the Prevention of Corruption Act 1988. Basically, wherever there is any corruption, how the fine is determined. For example, if a public servant is bribed, what is the punishment prescribed for this act? The person will be punishable for an imprisonment for a term not less than 3 years, can be extended to 7 years, and also a fine. So there are nine acts that you need to study, nine acts that you need to study in your module D. All right. So this is the whole syllabus of your BRBL paper. Okay. The whole syllabus of your BRBL paper. The manner in which we have studied our RBWM in the JIB preparation, we'll be taking it slow. We'll be covering each and every point in detail. And all the sessions will be live. So if you want me to repeat a topic, I will do it for you. We will go concept wise, topic wise, unit wise, complete each and everything in detail because it does require a lot of time. That is why we are starting early. So, what is the benefit of joining this foundation batch? Right? Once we are done with the conceptual clarity in detail, covering the whole syllabus, then we will move on to the advanced study. It will reduce your revision load by 40 to 50% if you have time in hand. It will increase your accuracy in the case studies. You will be staying ahead of the exam cycle. And if you keep your preparation for the last minute, it will hamper with your job. So you need to manage your time well. And it is a proven strategy followed by the top rankers. You can see the result. You can see the result. How each and every banker who has studied, who has started studying early, has qualified their CIB exam, right? So if you want to qualify your CIB exam, sure shot, then you should start preparing right now. Now let us start with the first unit of our module A, the legal framework of regulation of banks. Before we start, if you have any doubts about the BRBL paper, any questions about the BRBL paper, then you can ask. If you want to ask any question, if you have any doubt regarding the preparation, regarding the syllabus, anything, then you can ask. Okay, so we are starting with our unit first of module A, the business of banking, the meaning of banking, the constitution of banks. Just a small discussion for today so that you understand how we are going to study in the next live sessions. So, first of all, there are two acts which basically govern the whole banking system in India: the Banking Regulation Act of 1949 and the Reserve Bank of India Act of 1934. The Banking Regulation Act, the basically constitution of the banks, regulation of the banks. What is the defined business of banking? How the banks they will get their registration, what will be their paid up capital, how the returns will be done. Okay, so all of these things are contained in the Banking Regulation Act. Now, who is the regulator of banks in India? It is the RBI. RBI is the central bank, it is the monetary authority. Also, some powers are given to the government. Let's say RBI has the power to give license to a banking company. RBI also has the power to cancel the license of a banking company. If RBI cancels the license, the bank has the right to make an appeal. Where are they going to make appeal? They are going to make an appeal to the central government. Similarly, RBI has the right to remove a director from the board of directors. If that person is aggrieved, they can make an appeal again to the central government. Central government also has the power to give instructions to RBI, which were utilized in 2018, that we'll be studying in detail in this unit. Okay. Other than this, the Banking Regulation Act and the RBI Act, they define the permitted business, the prohibited business, what is the control of RBI over a cooperative bank, the control of RBI over NBFCs, the regulatory laws, the general framework, the role of the regulators, everything is given in these two acts. All right? Yes. Now we are also one more thing. Sections are very important. There are many sections given in your BRBL paper under each act. This section says this section says this is there. But you need to remember only the only the important sections. Okay, I will tell you what are the important sections. I will give you a whole list that you need to remember these many sections only. You need not worry about the hundreds of sections which are given in your book. The list is there. Around 20-25 sections are there, easy sections that you can remember. For example, one of the most important section is the section 5B of the Banking Regulation Act of 1949. This section 5B gives the definition of banking. What is the definition of banking? Bank can be a company, right? The main purpose of bank is to accept deposits, accepting deposits which are repayable on demand or after a time, the time deposit or fixed deposit. And second purpose of the bank is to give out loans. The loans are created from these deposits. So banking, every company that wants to be called a bank, they need to accept deposits from the public and they need to use it to give loans or invest such deposit. Okay, the characteristics of the deposit which are accepted by the bank: they are withdrawable by check, draft, otherwise. They are in the form of money only. Banks are not going to accept deposit of goods. They're accepting the deposits of money only. Also, banks are the only entities which can accept repayable or demand deposit. Other entities like NBFCs, they're allowed to accept deposits but not repayable on demand. They are not allowed to draw check, right? So, Section 5B defines banking, the accepting for the purpose of lending or investing of what? Of deposits of money. From whom? From the public. What kind of deposits? Which are repayable on demand or otherwise. Okay, so these are the two necessary functions of bank. Now, these deposits can be repayable on demand or after a period of time. They can be demand deposits or they can be fixed deposit, right? Deposit of money only, not of anything else. Also, the bank are accepting deposit from the public, but not from every person. If the public, if the individual, if the entity does not fulfill the KYC norm or the condition of the bank in their board approved policy, banks can reject to open their account, right? Following customer identification process is important to avoid any fraud. Also, the conditions necessary, as we have already studied, opening a savings bank account for a minor or illiterate person or a blind person, or opening a current account for individual or non-individual entities. All right. Hello. Hi. Yes. So these are the things when the entity, the individual, the customer fulfills the norms, only then the account will be opened by the bank, otherwise they can reject it. All right. So the regulatory practices as stipulated by RBI plus their own board approved policy. Deposits which are withdrawable by check, only banks are allowed to accept deposits which are withdrawable by check. No person other than the banking company, RBI, SBI, or any other institution notified by the central government is authorized to accept deposit withdrawable by check. The non-banking entities, the NBFCs, they are allowed to accept deposit but not demand deposit. Right? They can accept deposits under a special scheme or a fixed deposit, and they are governed by the non-banking financial companies acceptance of public deposit directions 1998. Okay, so they do accept deposit from the public but not demand deposit. They can be accepted only by the banking companies, right? Also, before accepting deposits from the public or engaging in the activity of creating loans or making investment, banks need to get license from RBI. License from RBI under section 22 of the Banking Regulation Act. Now, every entity that applies for a license, are they going to get a license from RBI? No. RBI, when the application is submitted by the entity, RBI will conduct its due diligence, the licensing policy. It is at the discretion of RBI. At the relevant material, the considerations, RBI will check that whether the company is in a position to pay its present or future depositors or not. The affairs of the company should not be carrying out in a manner that could harm the interest of the present or future depositors, that the companies has adequate capital structure and earning prospect, that whatever business they're going to carry on, it should be for the well-being of the public, right? The directors should be of a good moral character. They should not have been involved in any corruption or moral turpitude. When these things are fulfilled, only then RBI is going to grant them the license under section 22 of the Banking Regulation Act, before they want to commence and carry on. Now, what about those banking companies that were already in existence before 1949? What about them? They also need to apply for the license within 6 months. Okay, so which were in existence were required to apply for the license within 6 months from the commencement of the act in 1949. All right. So RBI will grant the license, reject the license, and give the notice for rejection. Now, every banking company, when they get the license, they have to mandatorily use the word bank as a part of its name. So, ABC Bank should be there. No entity other than that which has been given license by RBI will be allowed to use the words bank, banker, or banking. Only the banking companies are allowed, and it is mandatory for them to use the word bank in their name. All right, no other firm, individual, group can use this word. Then, subsidiaries of the banks, associations, they are exception. They are exempted from this restriction, right? Or a society formed by the employees of a banking company like SBI or nationalized banks, they're also exempt. Then certain other activities. Now, there are two other important sections. So, important sections till now 5B and 22 of the Banking Regulation Act. Then we have Section 6(1), which tells us about the permitted business. The permitted business, apart from accepting deposit, giving out loans, investing in the securities, banks can also deal in the bills of exchange, drawing, accepting, buying, selling, advancing with or without security, carrying out any transacting activity of guarantee and indemnity, managing, selling, realizing any property, right? All of these are the permitted business. What is important for us and what has been asked in the previous exams, the prohibited business, another important section, section 8 of the Banking Regulation Act. The section 8 prohibits the banking companies. They cannot undertake any trading risk. They cannot buy or sell goods either directly or on behalf of the customer. No. They cannot act as a buyer or seller. They cannot act as a trader. They cannot undertake trading risk. Now, if you ask me, what about the security which comes in the possession of the bank? What about a house that is mortgaged with the bank for a loan? That is a different thing, right? It is a security. If the customer defaults, then the bank has the right to sell the house. But other than this, they cannot accept goods from the customer. They cannot sell the customer's goods. They cannot act as market makers, essentially. Okay? So, buying or selling or bartering of goods is strictly prohibited, directly or indirectly. Bartering means commodity exchange. The bank cannot exchange one good for another directly or on behalf of the customer indirectly. Nothing is allowed. Goods would mean every kind of movable property other than actionable claims, stocks, shares, money, bullion. This is allowed. Actionable claim is allowed, money is allowed, bank can accept money, bank can give money, bank can accept actionable claim, give actionable claim, bank can invest in the stocks or shares, right? But movable property, any sort of good, anything, pen, copy, whatever comes in movable property, even grass, trees which are attached to the land, it can be severed. Nothing. These things cannot come into the possession of the bank as a buyer, or the bank cannot sell them as a seller. Trading in movable goods is strictly prohibited. It is a prohibited business. All right, so section 8 is extremely important. Then I already told you that banks can take the immovable property as security, they can keep it as security. They can also buy or sell shares, right? Or bills of exchange received for collection. They can undertake the administration of estates as an executor trustee. This is allowed. They can realize the securities given to it or held by it for a loan if need arises, the customer defaults, and it is important that they sell the property to recover their dues. That is not restricted, right? Or dealing in bills of exchange is not restricted. Undertaking the administration, acting as a broker of insurance firms, mutual fund firms, acting as an executor or trustee, all of this is allowed. Okay, when the banking company gets immovable property other than for its own use, if they get the immovable property like a building in which the branch is being set up, it is the bank's own property, it is not restricted. However, other than this reason, no banking company will hold any immovable property for a period exceeding 7 years from the acquisition. All right. So, for any period more than 7 years, they cannot keep immovable property other than for keeping it for their own use. So, it should be disposed of. Now, there can be exceptional situations where this period of 7 years can be extended. It can be taken further, not exceeding 5 years. Okay, but not more than that. All right, so the banks, they are going to accept money, actionable claim, bullion, stock, shares, that is allowed. Other than that, dealing in any movable property, buying or selling, directly, indirectly, any sort of trade, trading risk is restricted. It is prohibited. Holding immovable property other than for its own use or other than for securing a loan, again prohibited. Not more than 7 years can the banks hold the property. That is all for today. We'll be um, ending the session right now. This was a demo session so that you can understand the BRBL paper before you start your preparation. So there are so many provisions that you need to study. That is why I'm suggesting you to start early, start now. Your classes in the foundation batch are starting from Sunday, this Sunday. 23rd of November. So make sure that you join, and I suggest you to take the CIB Super Elite plan. It is the all-in-one plan. You'll get not only the foundation batch, but the crash, cracker, capsule, everything under this till your completion of the CIB exam. You'll get 200 plus tests and you'll get all your four compulsory papers here. You'll get case study, elective paper test, doubt clearing sessions, community connect. You'll also get the downloadable notes. You'll get all of these videos in the recorded format so that you can watch them. You can also download them and watch them without internet. All of these things you're going to get in the super elite plan. So once again, we are starting with our foundation batch on Sunday. On Sunday, 23rd of November, we'll be going module wise. We'll be starting with the module A, right? Your classes will be in the non-banking hours, 9 p.m. daily, 9 p.m. daily, and on weekends, your classes will be in the morning. Otherwise, in weekdays, your classes will be at 9 p.m. with me. So make sure that you join the plan and you attend all of the live classes on a consistent, regular basis. And I assure you, the way we qualified the JIB exam together, we'll be qualifying the CIB exam also. Just that you need to have trust on your preparation and you need to be consistent. Please give me your feedback about this class before you leave. And now I will see you in the live classes in the foundation batch. If you have any doubts, any queries, you can ask me before you leave. If you have any questions about the BRBL syllabus, the topics, the exam, anything, then you can ask. Pattern of the exam is same. Objective questions, 100 marks, you need to qualify 50 plus or the aggregate over the 5 subjects. Those who have joined us from the YouTube channel, please like the video. And if you have any doubts, you can let me know in the comment section. If everything is clear, then we can end the session now. All right then. So thank you so much, and I will see you in the live classes. Do give me your feedback, like and share the video. Thank you. All the best. Good night. Take care.